Wilson's death in House was one of the most devastating twists in the show's emotionally charged finale, but the seeds of that heartbreak were planted long before season 8. While House was often framed around bizarre medical cases and the titular doctor's abrasive genius, the real emotional core of the series was always the bond between Dr. Gregory House and his best, and only, true friend, Dr. James Wilson. That friendship was tested, challenged, and pushed to the brink countless times, but when Wilson was diagnosed with terminal cancer, House was forced to confront a reality he had spent years avoiding: life without his closest companion. What makes Wilson's death in House even more tragic is that the show quietly foreshadowed just how unprepared House was for that loss years before it actually happened. While House was never short on poignant moments, one episode in particular captured the deep, unspoken dependence House had on Wilson in a way that made the finale's ending hurt even more. Long before the emotional finale, House gave fans a glimpse of just how broken House would be if he ever lost the only person who truly understood him, and it did so 2 full seasons before the end. House Season 6, Episode 9 showed that House wasn't ready to lose Wilson. House's panic over Wilson's self-sacrifice revealed how deeply he needed his best friend. The House Season 6 episode, Wilson, marks a rare departure from the show's typical structure by shifting the narrative focus away from House and onto his best friend. In this episode, Wilson is faced with a difficult and dangerous choice: donate a portion of his liver to a former patient, Tucker, who is now in need of a life-saving transplant. Despite the significant risks involved, Wilson decides to move forward with the surgery. House, on the other hand, is vehemently opposed to the idea, and it's not just about medical skepticism. Throughout Wilson, House's erratic behavior speaks volumes about his emotional dependence on his friend. He attempts to sabotage the surgery, challenges the ethics behind Wilson's decision, and even lashes out with cruel sarcasm, all of which are classic House tactics when he's feeling vulnerable. However, beneath the cynicism lies a clear, unspoken fear: House doesn't want to lose Wilson. While he couches his objections in logic and risk analysis, it's obvious that House simply can't cope with the thought of being left behind. What makes Wilson such a powerful House episode in hindsight is how it subtly unpacks the codependent dynamic at the heart of their friendship. Wilson's unwavering moral compass and emotional intelligence are the perfect counterbalance to House's bitterness and self-destructive tendencies. When Wilson chooses to risk his life to help someone else, House is reminded, for perhaps the first time, that he might not always be the most important person in Wilson's life. That terrifies him. Even after the surgery is successful, the emotional damage lingers. House visits Wilson in the hospital, but the interaction is cold and uncomfortable. He can't express gratitude or relief, just frustration that Wilson would even put himself in danger in the first place. It's a telling moment that foreshadows how House handles Wilson's cancer diagnosis years later, with denial, selfishness, and desperation. Ultimately, Wilson proved that House wasn't emotionally equipped to face the possibility of losing the one person who consistently stood by him. That lack of preparedness makes Wilson's death in House all the more poignant. House refusing to be there for Wilson's operation foreshadowed their bittersweet ending. House couldn't face Wilson's mortality until it was almost too late. House looking down in Season 8, Episode 23, Everybody Dies. The events of Wilson don't just expose House's fear of losing his best friend, they also foreshadow his behavior in House's final season. When Wilson is diagnosed with terminal cancer in Season 8, House is again confronted with the terrifying prospect of life without him. This time, however, there's no surgery to undo the damage, no second chance. The decision is final. Wilson is dying, and House must decide how to face it. In Season 6, House refuses to accompany Wilson to the hospital on the day of his liver surgery. It's a quiet but crucial moment. House simply can't handle the idea of being present when something bad might happen to the person he cares about most. He distances himself under the guise of logic, but the truth is that he's emotionally overwhelmed and unable to offer support. When House finally shows up, it's after the danger has passed, and even then, he offers no comfort. This pattern repeats in the House series finale. When Wilson shares his grim diagnosis and prognosis, House struggles to be emotionally available. He reverts to his old habits: manipulation, avoidance, and anger. This time, though, he ultimately makes a different choice. After faking his own death, House leaves everything behind to spend Wilson's remaining months with him. It's a beautiful yet heartbreaking moment of growth that reflects how deeply Wilson's presence shaped House's life. Still, the ending is ambiguous. House never reveals what happens after the two ride off together. That uncertainty mirrors the emotional ambiguity of Wilson, where nothing is neatly resolved. House may have been there for Wilson in the end, but only after years of pushing him away. The groundwork for that final act of loyalty, and the pain it would cause, was laid long before Season 8. Was it always the plan for Wilson to die in House? Wilson's death wasn't planned from the beginning, but once the finale was in motion, it became inevitable. House, Hugh Laurie, and Wilson in the House season finale. Despite how perfectly Wilson's death in House fits the emotional arc of the series, it wasn't always part of the plan. In a 2012 interview with TV Guide, series creator David Shaw confirmed that the writers didn't initially know Season 8 would be the final chapter. "We came up with this idea and it still wasn't defined whether this was the last season or not, and we had a semi-backup plan," Shaw explained, adding, "Once that decision was made, the idea of Wilson's terminal cancer diagnosis quickly became central to the final episode of House." According to Shaw, this shift in direction adds even more emotional weight to episodes like Wilson, which now feel like unintentional, but incredibly effective, foreshadowing. Though the writers didn't initially plan for Wilson to die, they had already laid the emotional groundwork for House's inevitable heartbreak. House's reaction to Wilson's surgery in Season 6 proved just how fragile he was underneath his bravado, making the finale's devastating events feel like the natural, albeit tragic conclusion. Wilson's death in House may not have been scripted from day one, but once the endgame was in sight, it was the only story that made sense.